Hey guys, Spawns here, and Riot has finally released a preview of Aurelion Soul's kit, as well as a bunch of other information on him. Just to be clear, he's not currently on the PBE. All we have to work with is this here, but he should be up in a few hours. So those of you interested in that, you can check the description below, etc., etc. And links to in-game stuff will be available. But first, let's check out the actual kit here. Passive: Center of the Universe. 3 stars constantly orbit Aurelion Soul, dealing magic damage and applying spell effects onto enemies they strike. So that's it there. Pretty basic stuff. Note that it said it does apply spell effects, so stuff like Riley's Crystal Scepter, things like that should work. Next we have Q Star Surge. It's a bit of a mouthful, but Aurelion Soul fires the core of a newborn star in a target direction that explodes, dealing damage and stunning all nearby enemies upon reactivation or once it travels beyond his star's maximum orbital range. Aurelion Soul can travel alongside Star Surge. By keeping it close, he'll nurture it, growing it in size so that it damages and stuns a wider area when it explodes. So let's see what that all means. Note the range will increase when he moves. So yeah, it technically has a maximum range in the sense that it's kind of short, but if he moves, he extends the range because the range travels with him. So let's look at that one more time. It should end right there, right, normally? But he moves it, therefore it keeps going. So that's kind of neat. Also note it can be reactivated, so it's a little bit like an Anivia Q, I guess, in that sense. So you can reactivate it early if he wants to. It's sort of like a point-blank explosion. There's one more actually kind of video on this lower down, so I'll show you that in a second, but it has to do with his skirmishing and stuff. So next, let's go to Celestial Expansion. This is a pretty basic one. Aurelion Soul pushes his stars out to his outer ring, significantly increasing their power. Celestial Expansion costs mana to cast and drains mana every second the ability is toggled on. Once he toggles his ability off or it runs out of mana, Aurelion Soul pulls his stars back. So I note that this is a basic toggle ability. Also, it does increase, it looks like, the speed of the orbital, but the amount of time it takes to orbit around you is the same. So just basic math stuff. To cover the more distance, you have to travel faster. But anyway, moving on. E, Comet of Legend, has a passive and active form, or components to it, I suppose. Aurelion Soul builds up increasing movement speed as he travels continuously in the same direction and loses speed on sharp turns. Some of this speed is stored away as escape velocity stacks, which are lost entirely when he takes damage from an enemy. Active. Once Aurelion Soul maxes his escape velocity stacks, he can activate Comet of Legend to pull in his orbiting stars and take flight, traversing over terrain for a long distance. He cannot turn once his course is set, and enemy damage will bring Aurelion Soul back to Earth, restoring his orbiting stars. So they're just showing the active here. So it's a little bit like a crappier version of a Rek'Sai ult, I guess, except it's comes with a passive thing, and well, Rek'Sai ult comes with passive as well. But this has to do with movement speed, and he can actually be knocked out of it mid-flight, I believe. Let's just double check here. Yeah, any damage mid-flight will knock him out of it. So yeah, I guess there's probably a closer example, but crappy Rek'Sai ult is the first thing that comes to mind for me. Now, his actual ult are Voice of Light. Aurelion Soul shoots out a long wave of starfire in a target direction that damages and slows all enemies struck enemies. Nearby enemies caught in the blast are also knocked back to Aurelion Soul's outer ring. That's pretty basic. He has Fusro Da as an ult, essentially. It's rather basic. I can't think of an exact, I don't think it's an exact copy of anything currently in League of Legends. It's just an AoE knockback, really. Sort of interesting that I can't think of an AoE knockback wave. I guess Nami's is kind of close, but that's super long range and it's a knock up, not a knock back. Anyway, there's actually one last video that talks about, in this thing here. By the way, I'll link to this in the description below if you're interested in this actual post. But here is the a video of his basic, I guess it would be the Q-E combo. So there you have it. I'm just sort of showcasing his ability as a sort of a long-range ganker, essentially. It seems like that's his idea, right? In the post, I'll just keep playing this, but it seems like sort of in the thing that Riot's talking about in that big chunk of text that's available, is just sort of going on about how he's really good at shoving waves and then just kind of going on these long-range ganks like this. So as you can see, he activates his Q. So I'll play it one more time and explain. But he activates his Q like right around here-ish. Yeah, see, he shoots it, but then immediately uses that his E, the Comet of Legend, and then once he lands on the person, then he detonates the thing for extra damage and extra stun duration. So certainly an interesting. It looks really annoying to deal with as an enemy. It's just sort of like guy popping out of nowhere. Certainly it has its vulnerabilities and stuff, and it needs to be pulled off rather precisely, because it's not like you can cast that thing and then change directions with it and the comet follows you. And the comet travels like in a straight line. So I guess it's like a very, very advanced Anivia Q in that sense. So yeah, as I said, he's not currently on the PB, but he will be very, very soon, I would imagine. Patching and all that. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, guys. And once again, if you want to check out this big post with lots of info in it, feel free to do so. It is in the description below, along with in the future probably links to actual in-game previews and gameplay and all that stuff. So yeah, thanks for watching again, and I'll see you around.